Right about now, you're about to be possessed by the sounds.
2-6 shit. Yeah, I know what it is, man. You little suckers get to talking, crabbing, not walking, strapped to the pong, and they jaws are smacking, they sleep with the coffins, and they getting greedy like shaking. Give me all.
Welcome back to the second segment of the ShakeBack Sports Show right here on the BGCSports Network. It's your boy Willie Epting Jr. holding it down, man. Checking in. I am rolling solo this episode. My Nogs, Dwayne, Sutton, the Woe, Donny Epting, the captain. Well, again, they decided that they wanted to play hooky for this episode. Be expecting a pay slip or a pink slip rather in your envelopes or in your stockings or in your desk or on your desk real soon. Anyway, y'all know what it is, what we got to do, man. We got to continue on forth. Just in case you missed it in the first segment, yes, we have a brand new champion in the NCAA men's and women's ranks. We talked about that. South Carolina got it handed to them by UCLA and UConn. Yeah, they had been there for the third time in the last 4 years, looking to establish a real dynasty, as Coach Hurley was going to become only the seventh coach in the history of the sport to actually win 3 championships. So that was thwarted by me and Donnie's Michigan Wolverines. Congratulations to them. So we did talk about that. We did touch on the NBA a little bit, but we're going to get back to that here in just a moment. Before we move any further, though, this second segment, it is being brought to you by us. Who is us? Well, you know who we are. The Big Game Christian Sports Network. That's right, baby. It is time again. Lake Crest Casino and Hotel. Nope. Overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL draft talk. It's around the corner. Mark your calendars. Thursday, April 23rd at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for the overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL draft talk, live from the Chef's Corner in Fort Worth, Texas, formerly known as the Turkey Den, 1201 Oakland Boulevard, Suite 1111 in the Funk Town. Join us for an active and awesome atmosphere as we discuss, debate, and agree to disagree on who's going where in the 2026 NFL Draft. Plus, come and enjoy and check out the awesome menu of the Chef's Corner and get a heaping helping of Southern comfort. It's not like you got somewhere else you need to be on that day. So spread the word, invite the family, tell your coworkers, big day. I am your coworker. When you get off work, meet me at the Chef's Corner in Fort Worth for the overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL Draft Talk, April 23rd, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. We will see you there. Okay, big day. So, again, the boys, my Nugs, they are playing hooky, but we're going to pick up on the NBA because what I was talking about there in the first segment was, well, not only that the playoffs are right around the corner, but this whole 65 game thing. And I want to thank you guys out there for checking us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram TV, and of course, Twitter. Thank you guys. Drop your comments because I want to get y'all's thoughts on this because I'm a little torn as to this rule. I understand the spirit of it. And of course, we're talking about the 65 games that have to be played in order for anybody to be eligible for any sort of postseason. Season awards, whether it be all NBA, whatever the case may be. So my thing is this, is that we know that the rule was put in place because of the San Antonio Spurs from back in the day. That time they shipped Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, and Tony Parker off to the next game in Orlando after they played what was the first of a back-to-back in Miami. So we have the Spurs to blame for this. But as we have grown in the sport and as the sport has continued to progress and get along, it became a problem, and it is a problem. So much of a problem that they felt like they had to implement this rule. Of course, 65 games is what, probably 3/4 of the year. But my thing is this, is that I have an issue with it because, let me put it this way. I don't have an issue with it because of the spirit of the rule. I have an issue with it because people and players and coaches and organizations had taken advantage of it by resting players, particularly in road games, particularly on the second of back-to-backs or even the first of back-to-backs, just to try to save these players' legs. Now, to me, this is all kind of wrapped up in the old GOAT conversation between Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and this is not about that. But what I'm saying is that a player, in my opinion, should have any issue with playing 75 games if they're completely healthy or at least somewhat healthy. So when the rule was instituted, and the NBA, to me, like this whole draft lottery thing, I don't understand why they have to do it that way either. But to punish a player such as Cade Cunningham or Nikola Jokic or Victor Wembanyama, who obviously had real injuries, right? They have real injuries. Victor with the rib contusion, Cade Cunningham with the punctured lung and the leg issue that Joker had. So what can be done, ladies and gentlemen, to thwart, for the lack of a better word, thwart this continued behavior in the NBA? Should the rule be modified? Should the rule be just gotten rid of altogether? Or should they keep it as is? I don't know. My gut tells me that they should just modify it. How they're going to modify it, I am clueless to that. That is not my wheelhouse. So to say that 6 games and 20 minutes at a minimum is required is really contingent upon several factors. Now, I understand that you can't clean up the entire thing. You can't get rid of it, the entire thing. Maybe it should be targeted towards teams that are not in playoff position whatsoever. Maybe it should be targeted to teams that if they do happen to be in playoff positioning and their star has a real injury and is not just sitting out, maybe they could do it that way. I don't know. But I got a poll up there on the screen right now for everybody that's watching. Should the NBA get rid of the 65 games play rule? Yes, no, but modify it, or no? So I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, because it is a catch-22. It is something that, in my opinion, they're never going to get it right. And my man Dolph from Come On In Sports, I see you say you love the rule. Man, I will be very interested to put your comments on the screen as to why you love the rule. Do you love the spirit of the rule, or do you love the actual letter of the rule? Because the spirit of the rule, I get. The letter of the rule, not so much. Not so much. So it's one of those things that they're going to have to figure out. And I want to go, and since we're talking about the NBA and some of its rules, how about this draft lottery? I just remember a time when the NBA had, I want to say, up to 10 rounds. And of course, there were a lot less teams back then. It's not the global presence that it is now. I get all that. And players were able to come straight out of high school to a certain point to where they weren't. And then they could come out after their freshman year, and then they couldn't. They had to be out of high school for 2 years before they could enter the NBA. So the NBA has tried to address many of these changes throughout its lifespan. But I just don't understand why, if a team is 12-60 or 70, 12-72, and they obviously have the sorriest record in the NBA. They actually have the worst record in the NBA. Why do they have to be put in a container with their logo on it with a ball, a golf ball or a tennis or whatever it is, put into a container, hopped around like we're playing for the lottery for real? And I know probably a lot of those GMs and presidents of personnel and all that stuff probably think they're winning the lottery when they get that number one selection. But why go through all of that when we know that the sorriest team in any other sport, unless there's some sort of acquisition or some sort of requirement or trade that will alleviate or that will not have that team that's the sorriest get the number one pick in said draft? I don't understand why the NBA can't implement that part of it. And it's confusing. And to be honest, I think that a lot of these reasons why so many people that were once diehard NBA fans are no longer that. And you're actually looking at one of them. I was a diehard NBA fan back in the 80s and the 90s and into the early 2000s. But when they started doing all of these things, man, and you know, for a while, if you're old enough to remember back in the 80s, we were used to seeing games played in the hundreds. And then as the Bad Boys Pistons came along, we saw a physicality in the NBA that rivaled that of some football leagues. It's just what it was. And then Michael Jordan, all of that. And then into the mid 90s, into the upper 90s or higher 90s, late 90s, it became, we saw so many scores that were 85 to 75. I remember the 1994 NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Rockets in the midst of the OJ break-in, no pun intended. But that whole series, I don't think that there was not one time that either team scored 100 points or more than once. Not that I recall. But even then, it was so entertaining because it was really no holds barred. And I'm thinking about the time when there was something that happened in Major League Baseball the other day. It was Ronaldo Perez again. I think it's Perez. Ronaldo Perez against Jose or not Soriano. Good God, Jorge Soler. And Reyes he threw a pitch that didn't even hit Jorge Soler. Now, it didn't hit him that time, but come to find out that this dude he actually owned the pitcher from the Angels. I think he was like batting like 600 with 5 home runs and 8 RBIs and only like 7 at bats or something like that. But what I'm getting at is that in the NBA, in my opinion, we enjoyed that. And maybe it was because of the age that I was. Dolph, I see your comment. I'm going to put it up here in just a second and read it out. But the NBA, in my opinion, this is one of the reasons why they've lost some viewership. As a matter of fact, if you guys don't know, the opening game of the Major League Baseball season for 2026 between the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants actually had more viewership than the primetime game in the NBA on that day. Now, for that to happen for Major League Baseball is saying a lot, considering how people say it's so boring, this, that, and the third. But I'm a baseball guy, so we're not going to go there. As a father, I've been saving up to take my son to a Mavericks game versus the Lakers because LeBron is his favorite player. He is so excited, and you got to the game, and it's announced that he's out tonight for rest. Okay, and that goes to the spirit of the rule, but not necessarily the letter of the rule. And LeBron James, it's just interesting that you brought him up because obviously he is one of the most polarizing athletes of this generation, not just basketball, but athletes as a whole. It's not the fact that he is considered to be the GOAT by some people, probably too many if you ask me. But to me, being a GOAT or being the GOAT, there has to be a qualification that you are available. And LeBron James has sat out more games in his career that would last an entire season. Jordan never did that. Kareem never did that. Kobe never did that. Magic never did that. Larry Bird didn't do that. Now, Tim Duncan did, but I'm sure it wasn't because of his choice. That was Greg Popovich. Remember? That's why this whole thing started. So while I respect your opinion and I feel bad for your son, Dolph, I get it. And it's a shame because when that happens, you're not going to get a refund. The NBA is not going to say, well, LeBron James was on the shelf tonight. And I know you probably saved your money up to see him. So we're going to give you a credit for the next game. What if the next game is the Utah Jazz and nobody wants to see them? You'll be able to pick your seat. As a matter of fact, you may even be able to sit down there with the announcers or even the coaches and the players. Seriously talking. So the rule to me, it has to be modified. It has to be modified. And it has to be modified fairly. And I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't really care how they do it. To be honest, I don't care if they do it or not, because all it does is gives me a talking point. And I really don't want to have to talk about stuff like this because it takes away from what is going on actually, that is actually happening on the court. So the playoffs are right around the corner. As a matter of fact, by the end of the weekend, the playoff seedings will be set. We'll have the play-in tournament and all those things. So we'll have a complete playoff preview after the play-in tournament is complete. I can tell you right now, I am a Lakers fan, and I do not anticipate the Lakers getting out of the first round. Why? Because if they run up against the Houston Rockets, they may have a better chance as a 3 seed. But if they flip-flop and are suddenly either 4 or 5, they're going to face the Timberwolves again. And we know what the Timberwolves did to them last year after the Lakers had number 3 seed and home court advantage. Luka Doncic has been out for the past several days or weeks. Austin Rivers has been, or Austin, not Austin Rivers. Oh my gosh. That's Doc Rivers' son. Y'all know who I'm talking about. AR-15. He's been out for a while with the oblique injury, I believe it is. And LeBron James on Thursday night in a victory against the Warriors, who were without Steph Curry, who just came back from an injury himself after being out for 2 months? Yeah, they beat up on the Warriors, but it's the Warriors. It's the Warriors. So anyway, Austin Reeves, there you go. Yeah, man, I know that's your point. But hey, what do you have to say? I mean, what can we say? What can we do as fans? They're not gonna listen to us, even though it's the fans that put the money in the pockets. So I'm just saying. All right, we got a few seconds left to go in the segment. Come on back on the other side. We're gonna get to some NFL because the draft is coming up very soon. And Ty Simpson from the quarterback from Alabama, man, his draft stock or his draft status is on a yo-yo. It's up, it's down. It's up, it's down. Some people are saying that he's QB1 in this draft. Some people are saying that he won't go into the second round. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Big day, Dwayne, Sutton, Donny Epting Jr., Willie Epting, or Donny Epting. He's not a junior. He's the only. Donny Epting, Willie Epting Jr., ShakeBack Sports Show. Y'all come back and holler at us.